So a little bit ago, I made a very weird impulse buy. I decided to buy Pokemon White version 2 for $130. But I did this for a reason. You see, I own at least one game, be that remake or original, from every single region. The only game that I didn't have was Pokemon Black or White 2. So I started my quest on where I could buy it and found... yeah. It wasn't pretty. If you're looking to pick up an authentic copy of Pokemon White 2, be ready to spend top dollar. I took about 4 or so days before I found a website with an authentic copy for less than $200. I quickly learned that if it is priced like a normal, new released game, it's a hacked fake. But this video isn't about Pokemon White 2 and its incredibly weirdly high price for a game that, as far as I'm aware, nobody really enjoyed. Or at the very least, it was heavily underrated. No, my dear fledglings, this is about the other underrated Gen 5 game, Pokemon White version. Starting here, Chapter 1, the story. One of my favorite things about Pokemon White version is its story. Giving away my opinion on the game a bit early here, but the story here is familiar, but amazingly engaging for a Pokemon game. Don't get me wrong, we have seen Pokemon games give us interesting stories before. My thoughts immediately go to the Kanto Johto games, where we see Team Rocket go under, only to try to contact Giovanni 2 years later to reform, and he doesn't show up. The more recent Pokemon Sword and Shield Darkest Day storyline is, in my opinion, one of the less interesting parts of that game, but that's a video for another time. Spoilers ahead for a DSi game released in 2010, the story is basically in-universe PETA calling for Pokemon to get released from people and to stand as equals, and it's a very interesting topic for Pokemon to cover. Game Freak basically turned the Moms Against Pokemon movement into a main villain's team, and it works. From the very start, when you meet N, you can tell that he is a caring guy, a bit odd since he says he can talk to Pokemon, but he's pretty interesting and a really hot dude who takes you on a Ferris wheel ride, and then informs you that he is the king of Team Plasma. Not sure why you would want to say that on a first date, but not a deal breaker. Not at all. A bit off topic, let's reel back in. Basically, Team Plasma wants to liberate Pokemon, and in his 7 sages lead this movement, but it becomes obvious very quickly that the real head of the operation is Ghetsis, one of the 7 sages. He even goes as far as to state that he has no real stake in saving Pokemon. He just wants to be the only one with Pokemon so that he can rule Unova. Meanwhile, N is trying to resurrect, in my game it was Reshiram, but if you play Pokemon Black it would be Zekrom. And N mentions several times that you can stop him by beating the league and becoming champion, and then later mentions that the best way to beat him in combat would be to have you resurrect the other legendary dragon Pokemon of Unova, and battle his truths and ideals versus your own. By the way, the story about the legendary dragon Pokemon of Unova is pretty freaking cool. Them having been one Pokemon ages ago when Unova was founded, but then splitting into 2 when the 2 brother kings of Unova... 2 kings, brothers. Haven't we heard that one recently? Again? Yeah, anyways. The 2 brother kings of Unova each value a different thing, truth and ideals. And so they fight over it, never being able to beat one another. Back in the present day, however, regardless of this, you battle your way through the Elite Four, and as you get to the champion, it turns out that N has already beaten him. A freaking castle shoots out of the ground, and you make your way inside to stop N from using Reshiram to convince everyone to split with their loved Pokemon. Heading inside, 6 of the 7 sages stand there to stop you, but luckily the friends you made and the gym leaders you fought earlier show up and, I assume, actually beat the crap out of them. They have never engaged in a Pokemon battle any time before this. They just, every time their grunts are defeated, they give up. So, I would assume that they just fisticuff it. Since they never engage, it's pretty obvious they don't have Pokemon. Maybe they do. Who knows? Regardless, you scale the castle, and then you and N battle it out, with you coming out on top. Quickly taking down Gutsus afterwards, you watch as everything N ever knew crashes down upon him, as Gutsus tells him that he basically manipulated him as a child in order to be the perfect king of Team Plasma, and it's horrible. Gutsus is taken away, and N decides to leave with Reshiram to find out who he really is, and minor spoilers for Pokemon White 2 here, I learned that canonically your character just throws out Reshiram and follows him. Like, what? You both leave Unova. You never become the champion, if I understand correctly, so that's really cool. You both leave, and that's really it. All in all, I really enjoy the story being told here. Mind you, that's just Team Plasma's story. There's a whole story with your friend Charon getting more and more angry and erratic and thirsting for power every time you beat him, before the champion knocks some sense into him, and Bianca, your other friend, realizes she's not really cut out for the trainer life, and she decides to become either a model or a researcher. The characters here feel real and human. Sure, it tends to follow the same model as every other Pokemon game recently, bar Sun and Moon. Man, I've really got to make a lot of these videos, don't I? But it does so in a really fun and engaging way. Story-wise, the game gets a 10 out of 10 from me. Moving into Chapter 2 here, the gameplay, I've heard some complaints about Unova, mostly stemming around the gameplay of it, and with some points, I do have to agree. It is downright painful for a game with so many cool Psychic-type Pokemon to have this many Dark-types! Or at least this many Pokemon with Dark-type moves. Tepig is easily the best starter in the game due to its fire-fighting dual-type, being able to hit with super effective moves on the plethora of Dark-types that not only Team Plasma uses, but also seemingly every other person, is both fun and boring. I chose Oshawott as my starter, and ended up using Throw the whole time. Another rather annoying bit of Unova is that since the Pokedex is limited to only Unova Pokemon until you beat N, and you can't transfer up Pokemon until this point, as well, your selection of Pokemon feels rather limited. When I beat the Elite Four, I only had 5 in my team, and 2 of them were for HMs. The rest I either didn't like or didn't need. Don't even get me started on the transferring Pokemon up when you do unlock it, by the way. It is horrible, and was honestly a huge mistake for them to do it that way. Another bit about these games is that it comes from the era before the party-wide experience share. And I know a lot of people think that the experience share is a bit broken in newer games, but after playing the older ones like Crystal, Soul Silver, Platinum, and now White again, God, is grinding so horrible. I hate it. I ended up using like one Pokemon the whole playthrough because it would get so over-leveled and one-shot everything, and it was so much less time-consuming than equally leveling up the whole team. I don't recall having any other complaints other than the horrible luck I had with paralysis and getting crit literally constantly. I do remember that I found many of the gyms and locations to be rather enjoyable, though. It was pretty fun going through everything, and the characters were a blast. Chapter 3, to bring about my conclusion, I absolutely adore Pokemon White version, and I'm having a blast with White version 2 right now. It is a breath of fresh but also nostalgic air. I remember not liking the 2D 3D blend that the games have, but now it has grown on me. It's a very fun game whose problems are no different than that of any other Pokemon game, and the story is absolutely amazing. Not to mention, N is the only character like to ever zoom in on him and have a full artwork, and God, he is gorgeous. I love him. Anyways, I would wholeheartedly recommend Pokemon Black and White version to anyone looking to give these older games a shot. If you want to buy the first versions, they don't seem to go for too much, and can be played in any 3DS or DSi or DS. However, just be ready to consider bankrupting yourself for the sequels. Anyways, thank you all for taking just a few minutes of your days to listen to my humble thoughts on Pokemon Black and White. Ta-ra.